Here is the brutal truth that you've been waiting for. The reason you are not closing high ticket sales or as many high ticket sales really has nothing to do with the amount of leads that you have. It has nothing to do with broke prospects. It has nothing to do with a saturated market or bad algorithms. It is because you haven't gone through the process and allowed the work to work on you so that it can work for you. Right now, you may lack confidence. You maybe don't ask enough questions. You're not even sure what questions to ask. You're not sure how to build trust. And when you speak to people, you speak on the surface and the gold is buried beneath that iceberg. And because you crave acceptance and you're still people pleasing, more than you crave transformation and being bold in your message, you end up talking about yourself most of the time on your sales calls instead of listening. How do I know this? Because I've lived it. You've got to go through the learning curve to get to the earning curve. At one time, I was a single mom. I had 10 kids under 13 at one time, 11 kids in total. And I can remember crying my eyes out thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to support this family? And I was asking the wrong questions. I was working, but I was resisting what God was showing me to change. And I'm going to share some truths with you today that are going to blow your mind. God whispered to me years ago, it's working, it's working, it's working, it's working on you. That moment changed everything for me. I thought it was about strategies. I thought it was about tactics. And while that's important, I'm going to show you today why all work works. How the work that you're currently doing, if you will allow it, if you will step into massive action enough, it will shape you into the person in whom it can't help but work. This isn't just about sales. This is becoming. Genesis 1:28 states, you must be fruitful, to do multiplication, to have dominion. Being comes before the doing, and doing comes before the having. But to become, we have to do. Some of you believe if you just had more leads, if you just got the right clients, if you just connected with people that had money. But if you're closing 2 out of 20 people right now, adding more leads to your system isn't going to fix it. It's going to leave you frustrated. The problem isn't marketing. The problem is your lack of mastery. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. So the season that you're in right now, the struggle, sometimes feels like demonic oppression. It can feel like breakthrough is far away. You can feel that there's a lot of no's, that there's a silence, but it's not wasted. This is preparation. The work is working on you right now. It is building roots that one day is going to support your fruits. Many of you lack confidence. You lack confidence, but confidence actually doesn't come from hype or pretending or fake it till you make it. Confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from doing iterations. Well, what are iterations, Coach Heaven? Iterations are doing the reps. They are the push-ups for your business. They are the planks for your business. Through the trying, through the falling, through the adjusting and trying again, through every no you hear, every silence, every not knowing what question to ask, every sales call, every objection, every sell by chat, every message, every live, every time you show up, everything that stings, that's feedback. This is God's classroom. Some of you are waiting to feel confident before you take the leap. But here's the truth. Confidence doesn't show up first. Competence does. It's the doing that's going to produce your being. When you do the reps, you're going to get some feedback. You know, feedback can hurt sometimes. One day you're going to wake up confident, but in the middle, it feels messy. It feels like it's not working. But it's because you don't really have anyone to share the framework with. You don't have anyone to share the reframe with. You don't have anyone to get the feedback from, right? Others believe that I can do this alone. But I want you to understand that you can't, and that Jesus isn't your coach. Okay? Jesus is our leader. God is our leader. But you need someone who helps you. You need to have someone who's going to help you through the iterations to get to mastery. Listen, if I could have transformed myself by myself a long time ago, if any of us could, we already would have. Watching free videos on YouTube only gives you information. It doesn't give you transformation. Transformation requires feedback and correction and a coach. You need somebody who can speak into your current situation, into the activity that you're doing, not just what you think you're doing or what you think about yourself, but what you're actually living, actually doing. Again, it may not be me, but you need someone who's in your corner who can help you with the strategies and who you're becoming along the way. Proverbs 14:23 says, "In all labor there is profit. In all labor there is profit. All work works." Some of the profit is skill. Some of the profit is character. Some of it is financial blessing. But all of it requires repetition plus reflection. I believe that we do not learn by experience. We learn by reflecting on experience and having somebody reflect with us through the process of iterations. So most coaches and consultants, creatives, business owners, they keep things surface level. They ask questions like, what's your goal? And then they make pitches. I believe that pitching is satanic. Pitching is demonic. But real objections live beneath the surface. There are things that are going on for your prospects that you're not even sure how to ask the questions because you've lived a surface life or you've been people pleasing. When we people please and when we're in a drama triangle, we've been in a victim mentality, or we haven't been the head, we've been the tail. We're not in a position where we know how to ask questions from authority. And we turn people away when we are not in authority. Why would somebody want to buy from us if we're not the position of authority? But there's real things that are going on beneath the surface, right? The fear of failure. There's doubt in themselves. There is unbelief that needs to be brought up to the surface. There's pain from broken trust and past investments. But the brutal truth is you don't go there because you crave acceptance more than you crave clarity. You're afraid of the no. Maybe you think, I just need scripts. Now, scripts are important. I create them, craft them for my people. It's excellent. But scripts are like training wheels, right? And I don't think any of you as adults are still riding bikes with training wheels. Wouldn't that be quite a sight? But scripts help you before you start. Mastery comes when you've worked on your questions, when you've asked 100 questions, when you've had 100 10-minute calls, when you've learned how to pause. And you see that pause is part of a sentence. When you understand that the presence of how to flow naturally. Scripts don't close sales. Leaders do. And some of you are also thinking, well, I don't want to be pushy. Pushy salespeople push. Why do they push? They push because they lack skill sets. When you ask better questions and you actually listen, you're not pushing, you're being a guide. And guiding is the highest form of service, highest form of leadership. In Ecclesiastes 9:11, it says, the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but time and chance happen to them all. Guys, it's not the fastest talker who's going to win. It's the one who stays in the game long enough. The one who shows up every day, the one that listens deep enough, the one that is prepared for when their moment comes. Surface level questions produce surface level sales. So think of it this way. Asking questions that are what I call above the iceberg, what's only seen, they result in low incomes. When we take the energy to learn high level things, we step into the ability to request high level income, because all wealth is spiritual and all wealth requires high energy, because wealth is a high energy result. And it's depth that produces transformation. Think about the work you're doing with your clients right now. Is it the surface things that are producing the most transformation, or is it when they go deep? The truth that I wish somebody told me, and this is the brutal truth, is that 80% of who you currently are must go. But Coach Heaven, I really like who I am. Yes, God likes who you are too, but he likes who I am. But the place that I'm called to go, the place that you're called to go to, you're going to have to let go of 80% of who you are right now. The people-pleasing, craving acceptance, thinking that sales isn't a skill, thinking you might not need a mentorship. These are all low-level thinking. Being impatient with the process is preventing you from growing an inner tapestry. An inner tapestry that is a capacity to be able to withstand the difficulty, withstand the strain, withstand the waiting, and for you to become a person who cares more about your client's payoff than your paycheck. We have to be less obsessed with having and more obsessed with becoming the person. You can't drag your old self into your new assignment. The work that you're called to do has to strip you down. It's going to rebuild you and reshape you. I'm telling you this because I wish somebody told me this. I wish that nobody sugar-coated things for me. You know, I want you to think, because I think some of you are thinking this, if I'm not successful by now, maybe this isn't working for me. I want you to think about that. Most of the greatest inventors, most of the greatest salespeople, they stayed in it. They stayed in it. They kept being the king and the queen of the show up. So this is wrong thinking. At some point, like Malcolm Gladwell says about the 10,000 hours, you are going to have a tipping point. It's not that it's not working. It's that it's working in you. It's working on you so that it can work for you. In Galatians 6:9, it says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season," come on, "in due season we shall reap if we faint not." I have spent more time behind closed doors learning, memorizing speeches, thinking about what I'm going to teach and train and equip people, memorizing scriptures, memorizing great passages of the Bible, learning how to say things, learning cadence, learning tonality. I've created greater roots, call those gravitropic roots. I've created greater gravitropic roots deep into the ground that are way greater than my phototropic roots. The phototropic fruits, the fruit is sales. Fruit is maybe growing an audience. Fruit is recognition. Fruit is status. Fruit is what people see. But the unseen roots, your character, the repetitions, your private battles, you know, these are truly has what given me the stability when storms come. And if your fruits grow faster than your roots, your tree is going to topple, because you have to allow the work to deepen your roots. If all your focus is on having. Now again, do I want to see my team prosper, myself prosper, my family, my kids, my clients? Absolutely. But not at the cost of your roots. The gravitropic roots must go down so deep that they're so strong. Look at the trees outside. Look at trees in your neighborhood next time you're on a walk. Look how deep they go. They have to be able to sustain the fruit. So what do I mean by that? That when you walk into a room, that people can sense that you have authority. You know, I have a saying that is purity in private, is power in public. That work that you're doing behind the scenes, the work below the ground, the root system that you're creating in your reading, in your daily disciplines, in choosing to calm yourself down when you're in a conversation with children or clients. Taking the time to learn and study how to do things as opposed to just watch TV or be mindless. Of course, there's a time and place for movies and fun, so please don't hear what I'm not saying. So I want to share with you a little bit about a repeatable process, because there are things that practically you can do during this process. You're going to need to learn how to connect emotionally with people. This is one of the biggest keys to success in sales, is connecting emotionally. Being able to see what's really going on. What is your client thinking? What are they feeling? You're going to have to learn how to do that before you can then say things in chat or in a 10-minute call or in a sales process. Learning how to highlight their pain without making them feel condemned. We want to bring up their pain. We want to know what's actually going on for them, and we want to have the real conversation. But we don't want to bring shame or condemnation into that conversation. We have to learn how to hold our value. You can feel shaky right now, and it's actually a good thing. If you're showing up on calls, if you're showing up and doing your daily reps, if you're writing your content, if you're rising early before your kids get up, you're doing the daily disciplines, you're actually learning how to hold your value. It doesn't feel like it. It feels shaky. It feels scared and excited. It feels awkward. But if you're not feeling that, you're not moving your business forward. Number 4, you've got to learn how to sell the outcome and not the program. Not the program, not the product that you have for your clients. What is the payoff that they want the most? That is the conversation that you should be having. Number 5, most people do not do enough events. When you're going through the learning curve to get to the earning curve, when the work is working on you and not for you yet, you hesitate and you hide and you don't show up to do as many masterclass, lives, teaching, training, inviting people into your process, making suggestions to go speak on a stage. What if you reached out to 10 people today and said, I would really love to bless your community, and here's how? Most people don't do enough events. It takes about 2.5 events, right? Whether it's a challenge, a masterclass, connections, for people to be able to be ready to buy. Number 6, moving towards mastery. I think this is one of the things that I would say is the weakest part. Most people, once they start in any process, they go through getting super excited. It's a new venture, a new idea. They have this optimism that is unrealistic, but they're so excited until they get in the work. Once they start getting into the work, they start to have an informed pessimism and start to think, well, this does not feel like it's working for me. But the work is working on you, the new disciplines, the new systems, the scripts, the learning how to speak to people, learning how to slow the process down, learning how to listen. These are all skills that you need to have to be a part of the 3%, part of the 1%. And I know some of you believe, well, if I just had more followers, if I just had a bigger audience, I'd have more clients. I want to pop that bubble right now. Because the truth is that more followers do not equal more clients. I built my first million with a few hundred people in a Facebook group. What I mastered wasn't quantity. It was quality conversations. Some of you fear, well, if they say no, it means I failed. No. No is feedback. Every no removes what doesn't work. Only what does remains. Like, I didn't lose because I got no's. I actually think no's are such a good part of the process, right? No can mean next. No can also mean I need to learn. I need to go through the process of mastery. I need to have more iterations. I need to get more feedback from my coach. I need to go back to my coach and say, this is what I did and it didn't work. Please help me. I gained mastery because I stayed in long enough and I ran out of wrong approaches. Some of you, it takes like a long time because you're not willing to give up your wrong approach. You're still holding on to it. You still think by being salesy, oversharing, by talking too much, by pitching and convincing, by trying to show them how great your thing is, that somehow it's going to unlock your prospect. But people buy emotionally and they back it up logically. If you don't tap in and connect with them with questions that uncover what's important to them so well that they're ready to buy, they're not going to remain buyers. Don't forget, you've got to go through the learning curve to get to the earning curve.